So making a film on a micro budget can be really tough, and obviously you want to make sure all of that money is spent on screen. So I'm going to give you some of my ways to save money on a micro budget film. Definitely watch this, maybe even think about watching this when you're at the script stage, because decisions you make during script writing are going to impact the budget you need to make the film. But our goal is to keep that budget as low as possible and that any money we do spend ends up on screen. I'm Jim, I've made features and short films. I've made very low budget movies before and I've learned a lot of tricks along the way. I also host the Honest Filmmaker podcast, where I've spoken to hundreds of filmmakers and got tips from them on how to save money on set. Now, one of the most expensive parts of film production is locations. It can really define the success of your movie. You can end up spending a lot of money on it. You can end up also impacting on the quality of your movie if you've not got enough time in those locations. So one of the ways you can save money on this is to shoot in public locations. But there are a few caveats on this. What you want to do is pick the quietest time in those areas. Consider local traffic, local people. So if it's early in the morning, it's a weekday, it's off season, you know it's not going to be busy, that public location could work really well. Do consider where you're shooting. You might need permission to shoot in that place. So it's definitely worth asking, but shooting at those off times, those early mornings, weekdays, times when it's not busy, could potentially reassure the person who manages that location that you're fine to shoot. And while we're talking about locations, using real locations can be an easy win. It can be a way to save money, especially if you're getting that location for free. So when you're negotiating with a location, if you can use it, offer them what's going to be convenient for them. So can I shoot before you open? Can I shoot at a time you're not really busy? And can I offer you a credit on the film and tickets to the screening? Or can I even have the post-screening party at your venue? Can I bring some money into your venue? Anything you can offer them to shoot in that location, because you don't want to spend time building a coffee shop set when you can film in an actual coffee shop. Consider using one location as multiple locations. And this might mean simply redressing and relighting a set, spinning the camera around and using it as a completely different location. It will save you time and cost of moving everybody to a separate location when you can redress a set you're already in. I'd say when you come to the end of the production process, you finish the film, maybe you've shown it to a few people and they've made some comments about things being unclear, moments need a little bit more space in them, you might need a few shots that you're missing. So when you come to do those pickup shots, schedule them all on one day. Schedule them all on one day. Don't waste lots of days getting lots of different bits and bobs. If it's close-ups, if it's establishing shots, schedule them all on that one day. So you only need the equipment for one day, you only need your camera people, you only need your lighting, you get it all done in a day. Be ultra prepared when you go in to do those pickups. And remember, one day is much better than lots of quick sessions, because that's just going to interrupt everything and it's going to interrupt your life. You know, you've just made a film, you need a break, so just schedule that day in. Everybody's going to be working around that day rather than constantly going back and getting more and more and more. Something you could do when you're writing is save yourself with scene transitions. And what I mean by this is, and I've done this myself, I write a script and I'm thinking way too logically about that script. I'm thinking about getting my character from here to here and I'm showing them walking down a corridor, not thinking that when I go to edit, that's the first thing that's going to get cut out of the script. I won't need that corridor shot, but I'll have spent half a day lighting it, shooting it, making it look good, to only find out that it's going to slow the film down. So save yourself some money by cutting straight into scenes. Start the scene as late as possible and cut out as early as possible, and consider using other things to bridge the gaps between scenes. Audio can tell its own story and help you cut between two scenes rather than a long sequence that you're going to need to shoot or you might ultimately edit out. Saving yourself on these little mini scenes that you don't need, the cost of those really adds up, so you're going to start to save some serious money if you cut them from your script. What saves money can be time, and that time can be spent on lots of coverage, shooting wide close-ups, medium shots, extreme close-ups. All of that coverage is going to cost you time and money. So try and do storyboards, be really precise about what you actually want to shoot, because if you can restrict the time you take to shoot that film, that's going to save money. Unfortunately, a lot of the time you might end up doing ADR on a film, so recording dialogue that needs to go on later. But what I would say is always get your actors to do a clean recording of dialogue without any cameras rolling, anyone moving while you're on set in that location. You'd be amazed how those lines will fit and they will sync, because the actors have literally just said them, they repeat them, they can act it out in the same space, but just get those lines clean, because that will save you having to pay expenses, get an actor down just to read a line to you. Continuity can end up causing costs if you shoot something out of sequence, have to go back in and shoot it. If someone's wearing a hat in one scene, they're not wearing it in the next. So ideally have somebody who is responsible for that continuity with costumes and wardrobe. Label all your costumes up so you know exactly who's wearing them and at what time, because you don't want to have to go in for expensive reshoots. Another way to save money when you're at the script writing stage is to think about the blocking and the staging of your scenes. It's easier to shoot people who are sat down, or maybe they're sat in a car, maybe they're sat on a sofa, than scenes where everybody's moving around in the sequence, depending on what your scene needs, what drama it needs. But if you can, if it's conversation across the table, it's going to be so much simpler and quicker to shoot. If you're renting your equipment or borrowing it off of someone, I'd go for a longer day rather than a longer rental period, because that will be ultimately cheaper. You want to avoid lots of staggered rentals and get all your equipment in one solid block, and that way you'll also be able to potentially negotiate a better price with the place that's hiring you the equipment. I know there are a lot of micro-budget filmmakers out there who shoot on their own equipment, and they sometimes consider that equipment purchase cost as part of the budget of their first film, knowing that later down the line they're going to get lots of use out of it. So that's one way to think about it, but you will have to spend that initial cost. Maybe for this first one it's worth thinking about renting or borrowing that equipment, or maybe thinking really carefully about what you actually need in that equipment. You know, what are you making? Do you need every light in the box? Do you need every lens? Plan thoroughly with those storyboards and those locations, and you'll know, and you'll be able to define what equipment you actually need to shoot the film. Casting and scheduling. So this is going to save you a bunch of money. If you cast actors that are local, then you're not going to have to worry about expenses like travel and accommodation. If you cast well in advance, you're going to be able to book your expenses for travel and accommodation in advance, which will be much cheaper. So scheduling, doing that work early, is really going to help. If you're able and you can, rehearse as much as you can with your cast, because that's going to save you lots and lots of takes and perfecting performance while all the equipment's there and everyone's waiting for you to say action. If you can do that rehearsal in a different space, maybe to the room while it's being set up, or in between moving locations, try and find those little bubbles of time where you can rehearse before you actually get to set, so that you save time on set and you can shoot as much as possible. Part of thinking about that budget is being agile on set and not having that fix it in post mentality. It's, I'm going to solve this problem here and now, whether that be by moving the camera, the cast, or even doing a slight rewrite, readjusting in your brain how that scene works. Get it fixed while you're on set. Don't save it for later, because later it'll either be a problem in the edit or you'll end up doing reshoots. So be as agile as you can on set and open to these problems that are going to arise. There's a ton more invisible costs you could probably save on a film, so please do put in the comments your cost saving tips. I'd love to hear them. Maybe I can use them on my next feature. Also, check out a video I made about my last feature film and all of the mistakes, all of the lessons I learned on that film, because it might prove useful if you're about to go into production on your first feature. See you on the next one.